Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the brand new Nike Lebron NXXT Genisus, right? So first of all, they spelled Genesis wrong, but yeah, this is the new kind of iteration of the next gen line. Of course, we had the first one was the next gen, like the original next gen, which was kind of like supposed to be his new generation of shoes for younger players, right? But he also pretty much changed the entire kind of aesthetic and also feel of his entire signature shoe line starting from the 20, right? If you look at all of his signature shoes, they all had crazy cushion, terrible court feel, right? A lot of support, you're super high up off the ground. Didn't really care about, weight, so it was a little bit on the heavier side of things, very supportive and pretty stiff. But starting from the 20, he changed it up for a signature shoe line, but also with this kind of like separate shoe line, right? But also it is a little bit cheaper than his actual signature shoe line. So of course we had the next gen, and then we have the next gen Amped, and then now we got the next gen Genesis, right? So this shoe is actually the cheapest out of all of his other shoes, right? So this shoe retails for 150 bucks, which is amazing. And then the original next gen retailed for 160 bucks, and then the amped version retailed for 170 bucks. Of course, this shoe is actually on crazy sale for like 100 bucks right now. So yeah, we'll have to see what are the differences, how does it feel and stuff like that. And yeah, if you guys do want to cop it, try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get this shoe or this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. And also, a lot of you guys have been asking me what socks I've been wearing in all my videos. It's actually my brand, it's called Young Hone. So yeah, if you guys do want to get that, also a link will be in the description box. But let's get it started off with the Tracciones, right? So the traction pattern is pretty interesting. We got a very enlarged herringbone traction pattern pretty much. And we got some black lines, and also what color is this? Like a really light purple-ish color, kind of like a purple gray, so that pattern pretty much goes throughout the entire outsole. And how does the traction feel? The traction feels okay, right? So just trying it on my wood floors. Of course, it has an okay bite. Of course, I'm gonna need to break it in and see. Hopefully it does get better and better, but right now it's feeling you know what I mean? Which kind of sucks, right? And also, as far as dust performance goes, we'll have to see on that as well. Of course, I was, trying these shoes on my wood floors as well with the next gen Genesis, and also it seemed to be picking up a little bit of dust, and my wood floors of course are a different finish than the actual basketball court floors, but it's just for my first impressions, right? And as far as the durability goes, however, I mean, the durability seems actually pretty dang good. You know where the black lines are? The rubber, like the grooves are pretty thick and also very, very deep. And also the rubber is really hard there, right? But underneath that, we have kind of like, it's like separated, you know what I mean? It's kind of like cut in half, and it's a little bit thinner right there, right? But I still feel like you'll be fine on an outdoor court. The rubber is pretty dang hard. The grooves are way thicker and deeper, so you should be fine on an outdoor court. So yeah, the Genesis is feeling okay so far. And of course, here in the middle of the outsole, we can see it looks like carbon fiber, right? So I'm guessing it's a carbon fiber midfoot shin plate. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels a little stiff and a little clunky, right? So as far as how the overall shoe feels to me right now, it feels like a boot, a little bit like a boot, but more like a modern boot, because the material of course is a little bit softer than boots usually have, like leather and stuff like that. This of course is just like a mesh, so the upper feels a little bit softer, but the overall feel of the sole of the shoe feels a little bit boot-like, right? So first of all, here in the heel, look, it's not really rounded at all, right? The one thing that saves the heel, however, is that this foam is actually really freaking soft, right? So it has a good amount of compression. It feels really nice here in the heel because of that. If this was stiffer though, it would be really clunky, and I really wouldn't like it. But actually it doesn't feel too bad, right? But it's not rounded really at all. And then here in the forefoot, very minimal type of kind of like curve, right? So because of the overall shape, it actually kind of slaps a little bit, you know what I mean? But it's not terrible, Yeah, for example, comparing to like the Jordan 12s and like the foam posits, old school shoes, those are terrible for me, like super clunky. This one, it definitely feels a lot clunkier than most modern hoop shoes right now, comparing to like the Ultralights, the Kai 1, the Sabrina 2. So those are a lot more smooth feeling. Of course, it doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It's just what your personal preference is and what you like. For me, I don't really like a clunky feel. So that kind of sucks. And also, the forefoot is actually pretty dang stiff. You know what I mean? I mean, it's actually getting a little bit softer. When I first got it, it felt really, really stiff. But of course, I was walking around in it a little bit. I walked my dogs, you know, and I guess my foot, you know, just walking around it broke it in a little bit, and now it can actually bend a little bit more, which actually I do like, you know. So as far as the springiness goes, it actually has a little bit of springiness. Of course, because of the carbon fiber mid-foot shank plate, we do have really good torsional support. So yeah, overall heel to toe transition, it's okay, right, for me right now. So, and now moving on to the cushioning setup. So yeah, the cushioning setup is a little bit of a downgrade in my personal opinion and how it feels. But of course, with these two shoes, you know, the Amped and also the original Next Gen, these are broken in. I've played in these a lot, right? I haven't played in these at all, so it might be that I need to break in the cushioning setup, but right now, from my first impressions, it's feeling a little bit stiffer, right? So for the overall core feel, the core feel is okay, right? So here in the forefoot, you have good core feel, right? But the heel definitely is a little bit higher up off the ground. And one thing that I noticed is that the offset is pretty dang high. It literally feels like I'm in heels kind of, you know what I mean? Not really, but the heel is pretty high compared to the forefoot. So I can definitely feel that, and also my foot sliding forward a little bit because of that. As far as the foam goes, it doesn't specify what foam they're using on the Nike website, but I'm guessing it's like Cushlon because it's actually pretty soft and pretty dang nice, right? So first of all, just pressing with my fingers, it's really soft, right? But also on foot, just like here in the heel compression is really nice. You know, it's soft. There's a nice bit of compression, which makes it really comfortable, but also it seems like there's a little bit of a rebound back, which feels great. You know what I mean? So that's also something that's helping the heel to toe transition right now, is that, you know, I feel like, you know, when I'm running down the court, the heel has nice compression. The foam is soft, which helps make the heel very, very smooth. And then, you know, once I come here into the forefoot a little bit, it kind of like propels me forward a little bit. That's what it kind of feels like right now, right? And there also is a zoom unit in the forefoot, right? But it doesn't say it's a zoom turbo unit, right? So for the original Next Gen and also the Next Gen Amped, they were using zoom turbo units. Here in the Genesis, so first of all, the insole is just a regular Ortholite insole, nothing amazing. But also, like, of course, there's nothing in the heel, right? For the Next Gen and the Next Gen Amped, there was a top-loaded zoom unit, I believe, in the heel, which was nice, right? You can definitely feel that in the heel, nice compression. With the softer foam, it felt really great, right? But here in the Genesis, there's no zoom unit, right? So it does feel a little bit worse, but like I said, the heel foam is actually really nice, so I don't really mind that all too much. But also in the forefoot, right? So when I had it on foot, it just doesn't feel as soft as, you know, these two shoes with the Zoom Turbo, right? So I thought this was using like a regular zoom unit in the forefoot, maybe the size of like a half circle, kind of like, you know, in the PG1, the PG2s, you know. But actually, you know, took out the insole and I took a good look at it, and it looks like a pretty large volume zoom unit. It literally looks like it encompasses the entire forefoot pretty much. I mean, it looks like the exact same size, maybe a tiny bit smaller than the Zoom Turbo unit, right? You can literally see the indentation of the zoom unit. It looks like it's top loaded in the forefoot as well. It's just, I can't feel it right now as much as these shoes, right? Like I said, these are broken in, so the Zoom Turbo unit is really easy to feel. It's a nice bit of bounce, nice bit of compression in the forefoot, which I love, right? But here in the Genesis, it feels a little bit stiffer, right? So of course I'm gonna need to play in it, and hopefully once I break it in, it starts to get a little bit bouncier, just like the Zoom Turbo units. Yeah, I mean, in terms of tech, I guess it is a little bit of a downgrade because it's not using Zoom Turbo and there's no zoom unit in the heel, but it is cheaper. And also, like I said, the foam is feeling really nice. So yeah, I'm actually liking the cushioning setup so far, right? So there's that. Moving on to the upper. So the upper looks very similar to the original Next Gen, of course, right? And when I first got the Genesis, it felt really stiff, right? Even here in the toe box, it felt pretty stiff, but right now it actually feels like it got a lot softer for some reason. You know, I was just walking on it, right? But it doesn't feel as soft as the original Next Gen. It definitely feels a little bit more glued down. But again, like, this is broken in. This is not. So we'll have to see on that. But I feel like it will get just as soft here in the toe box, just like the original Next Gen, right? Also, around the toe box, we have a kind of like a really crappy synthetic leather material, just like in the original Next Gen, right? And covers a very small surface area around the tip of the toe in both of the shoes, right? The Next Gen Amped, you know, it's a little bit thicker and a little bit larger of a surface area. And of course, this definitely has the most kind of support, you know, the most stiff and robust feeling here in the toe box, but still like not uncomfortable in any way, right? But where it kind of like did a really good job in my personal opinion is here in the midfoot, right? So here in the midfoot, it feels a lot more glued down, right? And glued down, of course, isn't always terrible, especially here in the midfoot in my personal opinion, because you know, it has really good structural support here, right? Look at it. I'm pressing it and it doesn't really give all too easily. The original next gen, look at this. Look at how freaking soft it is. Look at how much it collapses, right? And I didn't have any terrible issues with the next gen for support, but this definitely does feel a lot more kind of like structurally sound, right? Of course, the best is the next gen amped, but like surprisingly, this actually feels pretty dang supportive. Of course, I'm gonna need to break it in and we'll have to see if it gets softer and a little bit less supportive, but right now it feels pretty much on par with the next gen amped in terms of the midfoot support, right? For the tongue has zero padding, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? And all of the next gens have pretty much zero padding for the tongue, which kind of sucks. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then for the laces, we got cords. And it's like a, I don't know, like I don't really like cords for eyelets because, you know, if you tighten the laces very, very tight, like right here, they can rip, you know what I mean? So there can be a little bit of a durability issue comparing to like just traditional eyelets, of course, but you know, there's that. And then for the ankle area, we actually have a nice bit of padding, right? Very similar and pretty much the exact same padding as the next gen, and also the LeBron signature shoe line with like that memory foam like material. But yeah, it's pretty much the same exact padding and also the same amount of padding as the next gen amped. The original next gen has the least amount of padding, of course, but still really nice because it's very foamy, right? But yeah, the overall mesh material, it feels pretty dang nice on foot. It feels supportive in the right areas as well, but also like the toe box not glued down really as much as the midfoot, which I do like as well. Also for the double swoosh, it is different, right? So in this shoe, we got you know, the main swoosh right over here, and then the kind of like the second swoosh goes over that, right? The next gen amped, the smaller secondary swoosh is in front and it's kind of like going over the like bigger swoosh. And then the original one, I guess is the most kind of like similar, but a little bit different in design, right? As far as like the placement of the smaller swoosh, but very, very similar, right? Also, one thing that I don't like about the Genisus right now, however, is the cut of the shoe, right? So yeah, it's pretty much a mid cut. Look at how high it comes up, right? And I don't really mind mid cuts, but here in the back of the heel, it's so freaking stiff. Look at this. It doesn't bend in at all. Look at that. I mean, look at how freaking stiff it is, you know? And if you look at this shoe, it's really soft. You know, there's nice padding there, right? There's that nice padding here, kind of like on the inside, but on the kind of like top, the tippy top. It's very, very stiff, right? But here, there's nice padding, but also it bends in, right? Same thing with the original next gen, right? There's nice padding here and it bends out, right? So when you're, of course, when you're walking, you know, it goes like this, and then this part kind of goes up and digs into your Achilles a little bit, kind of like at the bottom of your calf, of course. And this, because both of these shoes kind of like bend outwards, it's not uncomfortable at all, right? But with this, first of all, it goes really high up. It's really, really freaking high. But also, it's really stiff here and it doesn't bend outwards at all. So this, when I'm walking, it kind of digs into my Achilles and it's really freaking uncomfortable. And also on the sides, it's like pretty dang stiff, right? And it goes over the ankle bone, right? The next gen amped, it goes over your ankle bone, but there's a little bit more kind of like material that goes down, right? And of course, this is just a low top. But yeah, it's a lot softer, you know? So of course, maybe it's because it's, you know, it's brand new and it's not broken in, but yeah, I guess if you like that, you know, if you like a shoe that has a material that goes over your ankle bone and it's a little bit more supportive feeling, especially in the back of the shoe, then of course you'll like this. But for me, I don't really like it as much because it is digging into my Achilles, and I don't really like having my ankle movement restricted as much. So I like the feeling of this and this a lot more, right? So there is a pretty big difference there in how it feels. And now moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size and this shoe fits me perfectly, right? So it fits literally the exact same as the next gen amped, right? So if you know what size you are in this shoe, pretty much go the exact same or go up half a size, because yeah, I went up half a size and this shoe fits me perfectly, right? So lengthwise, my toes go very close to the edge of the shoe, and I feel like that's because there's so much padding here, right? First of all, that's pushing your foot forward. And also, like I said, with the very high offset, the heel is kind of like, you know, your foot is going forward because of the higher heel elevation. So because of that, I feel like it's pushing your foot forward and making the overall shoe fit a little bit short, right? In this shoe, of course, this has the best court feel, right? This shoe has the best court feel, and also it's a little bit flatter of an offset. So I went true to size with this. It's very snug, right? But I don't mind it. And also it's a lot softer here for the material in the toe box. So I don't mind this more snug fit, right? But for this shoe and this shoe, for most people, I would suggest going up half a size. And yeah, if you have a wide foot, probably go up a full size. And if you have a really skinny foot, I don't know, maybe you can get away with going true to size. And if you want a really freaking snug fit, but yeah, again, I would suggest going up half a size for most people. And now moving on to the support and lockdown, right? So I think they did a good job in kind of combining the uppers from this shoe and this shoe and making it, you know, soft in the right places, but also supportive in the right places, right? So like I said, it's pretty dang soft, you know, very similar to this here in the toe box, but here in the midfoot, very, very supportive feeling, right? And especially here in the ankle area, which I think is a little bit too much. But yeah, here in the forefoot, you know, this material does feel pretty dang supportive. You know, it's even here on the lateral side right here. So it feels like it'll be good. You know, it doesn't feel amazing because there's actually no lateral counter, but it feels like it'll be good, right? I don't think anyone's really gonna have an issue, and I don't think I'm gonna have an issue either. And then here in the heel, we have a crazy stiff internal TPU heel counter. Look at that, right? So it doesn't bend at all. Look at this. So lateral containment feels like it'll be good. Lateral stability, there's no outrigger, which I feel like they're kind of going back on their ways, you know what I mean? Because you guys remember the LeBrons, like the LeBron 19, the LeBron 18, you know, the LeBron 15, you're super high up off the ground, there's no outrigger, it literally just was flat like this. And yeah, I mean, I feel like every basketball shoe needs an outrigger, you know, why not? Why can't you just add a little bit of rubber right here, making it wider so you feel more stable? You know what I mean? But of course, this shoe is way better, and all these shoes are way better for court feel than his older shoes like the LeBron 15, 16, 17, 18. So not really worried as much for lateral stability, but I would have liked to see an outrigger there. And yeah, a heel lockdown's feeling really good. So yeah, supporting lockdown, I mean, it's a LeBron. Feels very good, right? And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. I mean, it can't be as heavy as this, right? Because this is full on leather. This is mesh. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm pretty curious actually. So it comes in at 12.95 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 12.95 ounces, you know, so same exact weight for both of the shoes, which is nice. The Next Gen Amped is 12.85 ounces. What? That's kind of crazy. How is the leather material lighter? You know what I mean? Or pretty much the exact same weight, right? Of course, this is going to be the lightest. The original Next Gen is 11.5 ounces. But of course, it has the least amount of support. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. You know, but yeah, as far as like how it feels on foot, I would say it feels a lot more similar on foot to the Next Gen Amped, right? Like the overall material feels very, very similar. I guess it's a little bit softer here in the toe box, a little bit thinner, but it's not that big of a difference, right? The tongue, very similar. The ankle area, very, very similar. I guess, you know, it is a lot stiffer for like this part of the ankle area, like I said. But as far as like how the overall shoe feels, you know, very, very similar, right? And yeah, it's feeling like a worse version of the Next Gen Amped. You know what I mean? Which kind of sucks, you know, because the cushion feels a little bit worse, of course. The forefoot zooming in, not as nice. I guess the heel compression from the foam is very nice and very similar to the Next Gen Amped. But yeah, I mean, also, I guess it is $20 cheaper. But is that worse, the kind of like worse, you know, cushioning setup? I don't know. Of course, it's up to you to decide. And now moving on to the aesthetics. I mean, I kind of like it. You know what I mean? It looks like the original Next Gen, right? But they just changed the traction pattern, I guess. So tell us what you guys think looks the best, though. I mean, I would say the original looks the best, and then I would tie. I don't know. There were some really dope colorways of this shoe as well. So I don't know. I would tie up these two, right? So tell us what your ranking would be down in the comment section below. But yeah, wrapping things up, it's feeling okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my favorite. The traction's a little bit disappointing. The cushion also is a little bit disappointing in terms of how it feels comparing it to the original Next Gens, but it's still pretty nice, right? The upper, actually, I'm not mad at the upper. The upper feels pretty nice, but I really don't like how stiff it feels right here, and also how this digs into my Achilles. But of course, we'll have to see on how all of that breaks in. The cushion actually might be, it might improve with the 4-foot Zoom setup, and also hopefully the traction improves as well because it doesn't feel amazing. And also hopefully this gets a little bit softer. I don't want a repeat of the Kawhi one. You guys remember the Kawhi one? That shoe hurt my foot like crazy, right? So it's not as bad as the Kawhi one, but it's kind of like in the same category, right? So anyways, that's my first impressions look on the next gen Genesis. If you can, I would suggest just getting this shoe, especially since it's like $100 right now. This shoe is feeling definitely a little bit better. But anyways, that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.